In this video, I'm comparing St Lucia's most popular rum. No, that's not the Cheaper's Reserve. That's actually the Bounty Gold. I'm comparing the Bounty Gold to probably the most well-known rum in our world coming out of St Lucia. Cheaper's Reserve Original. Hey rum friends, welcome back. Here on my blue channel, I mainly focus on rum tastings. I take a different country, a different island each month. We start at the cheapest rums, we work up to the most expensive rums, all within my sort of limits of, 50 UK pounds, 60 US dollars, 60 euros. I don't want to go generically too much more than that, but that's the theme of this channel. But don't forget, I also have 5 other YouTube channels now, all with their own different niches and different themes. So if you want to go and check those out, look in the description below. They'll all be linked there. Now, I'm filming this video straight after the white rum comparison. I don't actually know how I'm going to drop this yet because I have actually scheduled in my head the spiced rum comparison to come next. But we'll have a look. But anyway, this is when I'm filming it. As I said, St Lucian's most popular rum, the Bounty Gold. We're going to be putting that head to head with the Cheaper's Reserve Original. I'm not going to do a daiquiri in this video because I personally don't do aged rum daiquiris. You do, but it'll be a bit of an unfair comparison for me because I just don't like them. So I'm going to be doing this as a mixer test. I'm going to be putting this head to head with probably a Rum Fashioned because a lot of people would drink that as a Rum Fashioned. That's a decent price point for that. But the cocktail for the month, where some of these rums are going to come into play, is the Cheaper's Reserve or St Lucian Mai Tai. Now, as I said in my community tab post, I was looking for a cocktail to do this month. I've done the Mai Tai with Jamaica, did the punch with Barbados. So I was looking for something different. And when I reached out to Dave and spoke to him, do you know what? Everything comes back to St Lucia have adopted the Mai Tai as well. I was fortunate enough to be kind of one of many judges on the St Lucian Mai Tai competition or Cheaper's Reserve Mai Tai competition back in 2022 down in London. And, they've just released an RTD, the Cheaper's Reserve Mai Tai now. So Cheaper's Reserve and St Lucia kind of have adopted the Mai Tai. So throughout this series, we're going to be seeing, do these make decent Mai Tai? Can they actually be better than Jamaican Mai Tais? Now let's get a bit more specific and talk about these two rums. What have we got here? Why are they different? How they're both 40% ABV rums. But so to give you the nuts and bolts behind it, Bounty is a 2-year-old column still rum, been aged in ex-bourbon barrels and that kind of stuff. Remember, the Bounty White is also a 2-year-old column still rum. So again, there's questions in my mind. Is actually the Bounty White, is it this rum just charcoal filtered? I don't know. Is it a different blend of rums? But then we get onto the Cheaper's Reserve, which, as I've said in that previous video, St Lucian distillers do not do age statements. They do not say this is a 3-year-old rum or a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old rums. What St Lucian distillers are all about is blending different rums together. So while we know there are younger rums in here, we also know there's some slightly older rums in here. So what they do kind of say is that if you want an age statement, the average age of the rums in this bottle are 5 years old. But the big point to note out with Cheaper's Reserve Original, they will have those rums separately, which are all aged separately. So not Solera system, nothing like that. They will have, just for example, say a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 9-year-old, whatever. They've all got those ages separately. That's then blended together to create Cheaper's Reserve Original. But then what they do is they then put that blend back in a barrel for a further 6 months to mature. And that's how they create the Cheaper's Reserve Original. So let's go on to the first test, the all-important price comparison. Now, I do need to point something out here. Actually, both of these rums are gifted. I completely forgot that. This was gifted a year ago when we did the Bounty live stream. And actually, Cheaper's Reserve Spirit Band gifted me this bottle just before Christmas when they sent this as the care package, the Mai Tai tinny, the RTD. So while these both are, so I will check the box. This will be a paid promotion in that sort of sense. But price comparison, if you were going to buy these from Master of Malt, my go-to guys in the UK, it's actually very little price difference between them. So to go to the Bounty, which should be the cheaper rum, dare say if you went to the US, this would be a lot cheaper. There'd be a bigger difference between these two rums. But UK price £22.75, roughly, give or take, for the Bounty, and that's £23.50, give or take. So we're literally talking 75 5p, give or take, between them. Actually, not a lot in the grand scheme of things. But just so you understand these prices around the world for my 4 other biggest audiences. US, let's put these so you know how much we pay here in the UK. I'm just going to round these up. $29 US, $30 US for the Chairman's Reserve. Let's get to euros. I'm going to round both of these down. 26 euros for the Bounty, 27 euros for the Chairman's Reserve. Australian dollars, 42.5 Australian dollars for the Bounty, nearly $44 for the Chairman's Reserve. And then Canadian dollars. There's a few other audiences creeping up now, but I'll keep this as this for the time being. Canadian dollars, 38, just over 38 Canadian dollars, and just 39.5 Canadian dollars for the Chairman's Reserve. Now, just before I dive in for a little nosing, I just want to point out the colour difference here between them because, and hopefully if I do that to one side, hopefully that should be really good for the camera there because it's a white background. You will see the Chairman's Reserve is a lot darker than the Bounty. And as I said, you know, the Bounty is a 2-year-old rum, whereas the average age of that is a 5-year-old, meaning that I'm pretty damn sure there's 2-year-old rums in here, meaning if the average is 5, we are at least talking some 8-year-old rums in there, if that's an average, if in true sense of the word average. So they are very different in colour, but let's have a little dive in on the old nostril test. Now, this is funny because on the aroma, again, it's the Bounty that I actually prefer on the aroma. The Bounty gives me this soft honey vibe. There is a little bit of fruit in there, but you are now talking, this is, you know, I would be very interested to know if the Bounty White is just this, charcoal filtered. I'll be very interested because I've always had this fascination of what does charcoal filtering actually do. So if it's the same rum, this is really fascinating for me because it kind of loses that really fruity, you know, the coconut, the pineapple that I got off the white and all that. But I get a lot of, and the lime zest, I don't get that. But what I get off this is this honeyed vanilla and soft, dried, rich fruits, sultanas and those kind of things. That's the vibe I get off this. Whereas the Chairman's Reserve Original does give me those nods to, again, banana, but not in a Jamaican sense, not funk, but this kind of not overripe, but just banana, how you would expect banana to be. But then there is this little bit of kind of vanilla again, but they're polar opposites in aroma, really are. If I was going to give you the big takeaways, the big difference, this is more of the Bounty. It's more of a honeyed vanilla, more of a softer fruit forward. It's still that vanilla-y notes there, whereas the Chairman's Reserve Original is much more richer, robust. Not so much of the honey vibes going off there, a little bit of that fruitiness coming through there, but actually the vanilla, the caramel does sort of not overpower, but that's there. It kind of overpowers any sort of fruitiness that you get, if you like. So that's the aromas. What about the taste? Wow, again. And you get it because the stills used will be different. As I say, column, blend of pot and column, older, younger. You know, if you're thinking, well, there's no point buying the Bounty because the Chairman's Reserve is the same price and it's, you know, it's similar. They are not. They are totally different rums. And you know what? I've said previously that Chairman's Reserve Original didn't really do it for me. I always went, I think it's just over my shoulder, I always went Legacy. And this journey is going to be fascinating for me, working up to that, to really do these sort of niched in with tasting no other rums in between them. I'm not saying I'm doing them all in one sitting, but while I do these deep dives, I make a point of not drinking Barbados or Jamaica or Guyana or anything else in between. While I'm doing this, I'm just focusing on the country that I'm in. So I'm really fascinated to how this pans out. Basically, that's a long-winded way of saying, I don't know why I've given Chairman's Reserve Original, like, not bad press, but I've not been wowed by it because I really, really like that. That's, for me, that is a delicious sipping rum. But the Bounty, to clarify, if you're new to my channel, I really do love lighter, inherently younger rums. Now, that is still well and truly on my palate. Well and truly. That, you know, I'm talking like 10, 12-year-old rums generically don't kind of do it for me. 14, 15-year-old rums. This is a 2-year-old rum. I flipping well really, really like this. This is delicious. So the difference is, what can I give you? The aroma of that honey really does come through. I've got this honey chocolate, crunchy, a light crunchy bar. If that doesn't relate in the US, honeycomb in the middle, chocolate around the outside, that's kind of a kind of crunchy bar. So I've got this honeycomb and chocolate and cacao vibe. I don't get the tropical fruit coming off this. Or maybe pineapple off there, maybe. But it is that sort of soft, dried fruit, or basically not, dry fruit, sultanas, raisins, all that kind of stuff that's been soaked, so they're plump, but it's kind of that dried fruit. That's the kind of vibe of this. Whereas the Chairman's Reserve Original, it's given me and because I've not had, again, when I do these deep dives, I don't have, so I've, like in the last 10 days or so, I've not had any real full-bodied rums, powerful rums. So again, this is like, I'm pretending that I'm new to this, if you like, if that's the best way of saying it. This rum's kind of giving me a lovely cuddle as it goes down, which I kind of wasn't expecting. I was expecting a little bit rough around the edges, because I do inherently love the Chairman's Reserve Legacy. But this is really delicious. I'd say the fruit that does come off the Chairman's Reserve is that banana. Again, not Jamaican banana, not that funky, overripe. Think whack a banana on a barbecue or in a grill. Caramelized banana. That's the best way I can kind of say it. It's not overripe, it's not funky, it's nothing like that, but it is banana that comes through there. And I've got this vanilla kind of undertones. This is really bizarre because I get the honey undertones from that, but the vanilla off this. Do you know what? Again, neat sipping. I like both of them in very different ways. So the next test I've done is the Rum Fashioned. I was thinking I would go straight into the mixer, the Rum and Coke, and do the old fashioned. But I was really interested in how sort of the Rum Fashioned differed from neat tasting, because while my palate is, while I haven't got anything fizzy and any Coke in my palate. So hands down, I prefer the Chairman's Reserve Original for Rum Fashioned. All I've got is my sort of homemade cane sugar in here, sugar syrup, I should say, in there, and a very minuscule dash of Angostura bitters. These are like really small Rum Fashions, but the body, the oomph that Chairman, these are both 40% rums, but this is the different, when you can taste from one distillery, you can taste that's much lighter. Your head is thinking, wow, it's really light. That has to be a column still rum. This is heavier, and you kind of, well, they're both 40. They're both all right. It's longer aging in there, but it's the body of the rum. And yes, you will get extra body from aging, but you also inherently get extra body from pot still. That, that's delicious, but it is a bit light for me for a Rum Fashioned. It's kind of, I think I would generically just prefer to drink the Bounty neat, if I was being honest. The Angostura bitters, the sugar doesn't, it's light, it's delicious, it's really, really good. But if I want a Rum Fashioned, I do want something with a little bit of body. And this Chairman's Reserve Original delivers in so many ways. So the quick mixer test before I dive into a Mai Tai. Just very quickly, Coke, Coca-Cola, Coke Zero I've got here, but whatever your mixer of choice. Chairman's Reserve. Oh, that's a really good, really, really good rum and Coke. I would quite happily drink that. It's got the vanilla-iness, it's got the bodiness, it's like a lovely sort of rum that's actually really, really good. I've forgotten, because I don't know why I have these, not downers. I have a downer on Barbados. Don't get me wrong. I don't have a downer on St Lucia, but I just generically prefer the legacy when it comes to Chairman's Reserve. But that's been a cocktail thing. I don't really kind of deep dive into mixers that much. But that's a really good Rum and Coke. To compare that to the Bounty is a bit too light. It's there, it's decent, but it's, you know, I'd quite happily drink that. I would. It's, you know, I'm not sending that back. I'm not, you know, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm not having another one of those. It's really good. But the Chairman's Reserve Original steals it for the Rum and Coke. By a landslide, this is really good. So now let's move on to probably the important test for me, and that's the Mai Tai test. Now, I'm just going to show you something here. I don't normally do this, but if you ever, because I get these questions a little bit, it's like, well, how do you shake like really, really small kind of, you know, measures? Because I don't do big full cocktails for this experiment. I've got tasting glasses. I kind of measure them out. I put the ice in there first. So I've got like a Mai Tai mix that I know exactly how many mil to go in there compared to the rum. What I do to shake them, this is a 60-30, it's a US jigger. It just nicely fits over the top, and I can shake my cocktail like that. So if you've never seen me do that, that's how I kind of do it. Anyway, let's move on. That's the Bounty. Let's dive in. Let's have a little taste of the Mai Tais. Do you know what? Both exceptional, both really good. Now, preface this. I've got used to, because I've been doing like experiments over the last sort of few months and stuff like this, I have got used to drinking Mai Tais without Jamaican rum, because I wanted to acclimatise the palate, because I know further down the line is going to be Guyana deep dives. There's going to be, you know, we're going to go into kind of, you know, Spanish style rums, Dominican Republic, Cuba, all that sort of stuff. So I don't want to get hung up on being the Mai Tai being, because it is one of my favourite cocktails, like the daiquiri. I don't want it being hung up and going, oh, but it's lacking Jamaican rum. You can't. So I want to acclimatise my palate. Now, that's not to say that I think I still prefer a little bit of Jamaican rum in a Mai Tai, that sort of funky vibe to it. But if you can just get rid of that for 2 seconds, know me, 5 minutes. If you could just get rid of that and just drink these at face value with the rum, with the lime, with the orange liqueur, with a little bit of like cane sugar syrup that I've got, and with a little bit of orgeat, it's really delicious cocktail. And do you know what? I can't actually, going back from memory, it's about a week ago when I did this now, actually too many dissimilarities between the tin RTD and this. The Chairman's Reserve does pip it for me over the Bounty. The Bounty is a little bit lighter, but do not let that take away from what that is. That is delicious. That is really, really delicious. But for the Mai Tai, I have to go. And bearing the price in mind here, that Chairman's Reserve Original is a fantastic Mai Tai. Absolutely fantastic. I would quite happily drink that. And I'm getting to that point where, you know, because inherently I have got dark rums in my Mai Tais, that like the Worthy 109, or previously before that, the Chairman's, the Plantation OFTD. Still a little bit of my head, and I've got to train myself away from it. A little bit of my head is thinking, oh, I just want a little bit of that darkness into it. But if you can just take that all away, put that to one side, and just evaluate that drink for what it actually is, that is delicious. So to sum this video up, as much as I really like that neat, the Bounty neat, and I might have another bottle of that neat, I might. I think, you know, for the price, we're talking 75p. I generally think it's Chairman's Reserve Original all day. That is delicious. It's really good.